This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl, and Happy New Year. This is the first full episode of 2022, and I am Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. I am super excited about everyone we spoke with in 2021. I keep saying we spoke with. I don't have like a mouse in my pocket when I'm doing these interviews, but everyone I spoke with in 2021 and all the wonderful women that I'm going to talk to in 2022 and some gentlemen as well. I wanted to talk this week, the first episode of the new year, about something that I think is probably pretty common to everyone. I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you will be hearing on the news, on social media, all about New Year's resolutions. I don't know when it got started, how it got started, but I mean, I know myself, it's kind of just top of mind awareness for several years. And I can't tell you that I'm always doing a New Year's resolution because I'm also someone, and this will tie in a couple minutes. I'll introduce you to our guest today who will talk about this. Bottom line is that we can make changes anytime we want to in our lives, and especially if we feel we need to. So we don't have to listen to the calendar dictating when we have to do things. But it is, it's hard not to get caught up in this. And I just wanted to talk for a minute about January is also known, I'd say over the past few years, I've heard about it as dry January. And I read an article today in the New York Times where it was referred to as, I don't know if I could even say this, dryuary. No, that's a new one. But I heard about it a couple of years ago where people are trying to start off the year with a good mindset and good health by not drinking for the whole month and getting kind of like a detox, clearing out. And this article I particularly liked because it wasn't alcohol. And of course, I should say on a serious note, obviously anyone who feels they have a serious problem, seeking counseling, treatment programs, of course you need to do that. But if you're just wondering, I've been drinking a little bit more, and research does show over the pandemic that drinking has actually increased, especially with women. And I'll admit to my listeners, I always say, sometimes I feel I do drink a little too much wine. I open up that bottle and it's like gone in 2 days. But this article in the New York Times talked about this approach that's called mindful drinking. And they refer to something called sober curious, meaning that we should be more intentional about when we drink. So think about, why are you drinking? And I'm going to take that approach this year. I'm going to try at least to think more about, is it habitual or is it for enjoyment? Am I opening up a bottle of wine because that's just what I do at a certain time, or after I've had a challenging negative experience, or, is that why I do it? Or do I open it up because I'm enjoying it with a dinner or lunch with a friend and I really enjoy the experience? So that's the whole idea of mindfulness, thinking about when we're drinking, how do we feel when we do? How do we feel if we don't? And I do like that approach, but enough about me. So I would like to introduce my guest today, Gina Constantini, who is a licensed clinical social worker in private practice. She is also on the board of NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness in Northeastern Pennsylvania. And for those of you who may have listened to previous episodes, you did hear from Marie Onakevich, who's the executive director. We spoke about ways to reduce stress, just how to deal with, the many challenges in life. So today we're going to talk to Gina about this whole idea of New Year's resolutions, what kind of pressure and stress that might bring about, and maybe how we can relieve some of that. So welcome, Gina.
No, it's so nice to be here. It's a great topic.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you were available, honestly, because and we spoke a little bit before I hit the record button, and, you said this is an issue. Like, it really is something that is on people's minds, and it is creating stress. And I love what you said. And if you could, tell our listeners, this is stressful, but we just left a stressful period with the holidays. So
we did. And it's the same concept that, with the holidays, is we have a perception about what others want from us. And we are, living life and making decisions based on what we think others want, everything from the decorations, the gift giving, the Christmas card that, and preparing the meal. I hear people say all the time, I'm so tired. It's not really what I want to be doing. But if Aunt May comes to the house and there's not 6 types of cookies, I'm afraid they're going to be upset, and somebody's going to be, my kids will be disappointed if I go to the bakery and get the thing. I'm not over there rolling it out at 10 o'clock at night. This is the stuff that people think, it's our perception about how others are going to, receive what it is we're doing or not doing. So we're exhausted by the time the holiday ends because we really didn't factor in anything that we want or need. It really is about everybody and everything else around us. So, you kind of leave going, yeah, it was nice. I accomplished everything on my checklist, but I feel empty inside. I'm burned out and I'm resentful. So like that now translates into, but it's the new year, new me, right?
Yep.
Social media says I need a new body, I need a new head, I need to do whatever. I mean, it's all over the place. But then we start with the expectations because that's really what's needed after the holidays is let me put some extra pressure on myself by setting unrealistic expectations that have nothing to do with what I need and what I want. It's what someone else, somewhere else is telling me I need to do right now. And this is why it's done by January 15th. People are done. It starts and it ends. And then there's, the whole accumulation process for over the next year. Next January rolls around, I'm still not a better person than I thought I would be from the year before. So it's, this cycle, resolutions are just expectations. They're goals that we want to achieve. But the problem is if they're not meaningful, if they're not aligned with how I define leading a meaningful life, it's not going to matter. There's nothing that's going to get me out of bed at 5 a.m. to get to the gym or put on my sneakers and run if that's not meaningful for me, if that is not aligned, right, with what I need, what I'm feeling, and what I want to see for myself. I'm done January 15th. And so that starts the whole, process where people will have experience larger issues like depression and anxiety and so on and so forth that usually brings them in. But it stems from, one thing I think that's across the board is it's very difficult for people to tell me what they feel. Someone can tell you how they feel. They come in and say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm sad, I'm this, and this. But when I say, no, what are you feeling? They're just kind of blankly look at me, right? And well, I don't know. Right, because we're living from here up, we're living from the neck up, always thinking. So we have no, conscious awareness of what's happening with our bodies. I don't feel anything. I don't know that I've been walking around with a thing in my shoulder for 3 months or my jaws, tense and my back hurts and I probably have some GI issues. I just sort of go through the day thinking about what I got to do. So I can't even tell you what I feel, which of course makes intervening, right, with an intervention very difficult because I don't know what I need because I don't know what I feel. Mm-hmm. So resolutions sound great on paper, but they may not be what I need. And it may have absolutely nothing to do with what I feel. Therefore, I can get up and run the first 5 days of the new year, realize I don't feel any different, or maybe I feel worse, and I'll stop doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and you made, I'm sorry not to interrupt, but you made a great point too about when we think about it, really take a step back, you're already exhausted, like you said, from trying to please everybody from the holidays. So does that really seem like a good time to invest in some change anyway, which change is difficult? And not to mention if you're living in the East Coast where it gets colder and some people experience seasonal, affect disorder and they're depressed, that's even more challenging. So now you've got like a Jenga of different challenges.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's just really hard to create, inevitably what you'd want to be a habit. The thing I do every day that I don't have to think about, like getting up and brushing my teeth, we have that little routine in the morning that we do. I don't have to think about that. I just do it. It's automatic. Right. Yeah. So, when we look at, improving in these areas or thinking like, well, what do I need to do? The first thing we have to establish is I first got to figure out what and how I feel. Then I'm aligning the changes that I'm going to make. Really, it's self-care. It's not an expectation. It's not something that, has to look the same every day. It's an intention to do what's right for me based on how and what I feel every day. And that could change. It does not have to be 5 a.m., on the treadmill in the gym. It doesn't have to be that rigid. It's not really practical, and it doesn't factor in anything about life happening. I can like set my goal to say I'm getting up tomorrow at 5, but my kid wakes up at 12 midnight, throwing up. Well, I got 2 hours of sleep, and I don't think I'm going to be out the door at 5, head into Planet Fitness. It's just not happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
There has to be some level of flexibility and some way of discerning, what do I feel? What do I need today? Because it might not be the run. It might be a yoga class. It might not be leaving my house today to go to a studio. It might be throwing my YouTube on in front of the fireplace and doing it right there. The intention is I'm going to, move my body in a way that nourishes it, but it could be anything depending on the variables of the day. And I think that loosens up this rigid, it has to be the gym, and it has to be the treadmill. It has to be, the military class that everybody, I don't know, whatever it is that people are doing, rigid about it. Because this is how it worked for my neighbor. And this is what the girls at the office are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Even the things that our doctors tell us sometimes. And this is, now, by no way am I saying don't listen to your doctor, but, there's guidance. And then there's somebody telling me what to do that is not going to feel good for me, and I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, if you want me to become more physically active, the question is, and the hard one for someone to answer is, what could you visualize yourself doing every day?
Yeah.
My doctor tells me to run. I'm not running. No running is happening here. Yeah. So, I get it. It's healthy. It feels good for someone, just not me. So, really having to sit back and say, what is the thing that's going to address what I'm feeling? What is the thing I'm going to do that is going to align with what I need? I'm the only person who can answer that by looking inward. Yeah. It's not going to come from TikTok. It's not going to come from Facebook. It really doesn't matter what my neighbor's doing, or the girls at work, or, what my doctor go run, go, move, go walk. That none of that matters. What matters is, can I look inwardly and say, this is what I'm feeling right now, and this is what I need today. And it may change tomorrow, maybe something else that I need. And am I willing to, shift the way that I think and say, let me fill my glass first here. Let me make sure I'm nourished. Let me make sure that I'm checking in with myself so that I can identify that, because I'm really of no use to anything else in my life unless I'm starting with myself.
Yeah.
Just a radical shift from, a season where we're totally in service, kids, family members, people in service, and then you're depleted because everything went out outward.
Right. You lost all the energy.
Myself. Mm-hmm. And that, means you have to come home to yourself and befriend yourself. And that's hard. That is a challenge. Yeah. I got to look at and like what I see, and approach myself with some self-compassion. And I think that's really the way to move, in a way that's, filled with kindness and compassion towards myself.
Yes. I do some laughter yoga, and I do it online. I just did some Sunday, and I always reference, because of exactly what you're saying, you need to take care of yourself. I always reference the instructions we get on an airplane, right? They tell us to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first before assisting others. And isn't that really the approach we don't take, because we think we're doing the best thing, because we're, especially women, are natural caregivers, or we just are. I mean, I don't care what we say about, we just are. We're doing that. Yeah, and then if we don't take care of ourselves, it's like if you let yourself get run ragged or depleted or into a serious place where you really need help, you're not going to be able to help anyone. So what you're saying is so important.
And this is really where we can start shifting gears for the new year, and it makes sense to us, and it lasts. We get longevity with it. We start to see real shifts and changes that are aligned with who we are as individuals, right? And it's really empowering to be able to say, I don't become as dysregulated when life's happening, when the things that are not within my control happen. I'm not thrown off course. I can come home to myself, and I know what to do to take care of myself, and I'm not going to beat myself up because I had this rigid expectation that I was going to be at the gym by 5 today. And then life happened, because that's exactly what throws people off. So all those people we're in service to, all the people that we're caretaking for, I hate to say it, and people, but you're going to become very resentful. You're going to be resentful of your role as a parent, as a spouse, as a coworker, as an employee, whatever you're doing, you're going to become resentful because you're going to burn out. And so, self-care, it's not about getting your nails done. It's nice. It's not about going and paying for a massage. That's nice, but it's not practical to do every day. People can't do that. So what we're doing and what we're really talking about is accessible, it's practical, and it gets integrated into living life.
Yes.
Got to be integrated into living life. And it could change every day. Sometimes I feel I'm a different person by the time I get home at night. I don't know what I'm going to need unless I stop, hold space for myself, check in, and then I get to decide and determine, this is what I really need right now based on what I feel. And no one can tell me what I feel. I know what I feel. I'm going to know what I need. And therefore, it's really incredible because we really end up stopping the process of looking outside of ourselves to fix things. We stop looking for, the food or the cigarette or the drink or the person or the external variable that's gonna, ground us when life is happening. We can really, truly come home to ourselves and be okay, with whatever's going on because I know what to do for me. And that is really, an outcome through real radical self-care that I think we can carry throughout our lives, to hold us.
But it's not always easy though, right? Especially because so many people do feel that I know myself, I try to get rid of the word should because I've used that my whole life. And, I should all over myself. I should. That's one of the most negative words because, again, it's all about what really is about what other people believe ought to be happening and I ought to be doing. And so many people are so far off from taking care of themselves so that what you're saying makes perfect sense. But how do they start in really just to begin to think about themselves or just to get this started?
Is what this goal or this, I like to call it an intention because I think it's just more flexible and it really is focused on the self. Is what I'm seeing here have somebody else's face on it? Am I thinking about weight loss and I have my partner's face at the end of that? Am I, putting this extra pressure on myself to do things differently because I have someone else in my life that's right there, right there at the forefront? If it's somebody else's face that comes up when you think about that, then you want to stay away from it. Then it's really not something that is useful for you. Then it's about, I am doing something for everybody else other than myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So it really has to be, obviously it has to be for you. And that's it, bottom line. Yes. And I'm sure that's really common because, maybe your spouse mentioned that you put on some weight or didn't say something, and that happens a lot as well. And that's in your head, or maybe you're thinking that the person feels that way and you don't even know.
Most of the time it's our perception of what we think others are thinking.
What we think. Yeah, exactly.
From us, and that is really driving our behavior. And, when you really take a look at why am I doing this? And it's because of that thought that this is what somebody may want or prefer. Then we got to explore that a little more because there's no evidence that supports that. And really, you're not doing it for a reason that is going to result in your, your joyfulness, your happiness, your, you feeling you're leading a meaningful life. You will be in that loop forever. Do you know what I mean? You will be in a loop with that for the rest of your life. Yeah. And most of it really isn't based on anything valid. It's what we think. Yeah. So I think that's really where we get caught up, but that stems right from the holidays. You can pull it right through to the new year. It's not really new year, new me, that it's on my terms. People are coming in with resolutions / expectations about, developed because of how they perceive others will respond. And not really the thing that keeps it going. And like I said, within a month, it's usually right off the plate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you read about that, like, I mean, I'm a runner, so I go outside, but there have been a couple of years where I would get a Planet Fitness membership and, you'd see, and everyone jokes about it, who goes, it's like the place is packed, you can't get a treadmill. And then you come back in the end of January, you're like, okay, now I have breathing room, because that's just happening. It's not being a negative. It is what happens. A lot of times these resolutions just don't work, I mean, that's just the truth. But I think it's important too, that if people, I mean, sometimes people do want to make changes for themselves, that they can do that anytime they want. It doesn't have to be around someone else's calendar or, society's calendar.
Mm-hmm. No, anytime I mean, it is really about, when you break it all down, it's about self-care.
Yeah.
It's just about self-care and framing or, redefining what that is, and moving away from what social media, what TV, entertainment, whatever people are telling us, what we think it is, right? Which is wrong. And really embracing self-care as part of our daily routine, and not something we wait for. It's not the end of the month when I have enough time and money that I'm going to go get a massage. It's not the pedicure. It's not the going to get my hair done. It's daily practice. Daily practice. It's a daily routine that inevitably, I don't have to think about it. I just do it. So everything that I'm putting out this way, my self-care is going to re-nourish me and kind of keep this cycle going, where I think most of us find ourselves depleted because everything's going out. Not a whole lot of energy, psychologically or physically left to put into. So if I say, like, we got to come up with a self-care routine, people look at me with like lasers in their eyes and they're like, where do you want me? Where? I'm telling you here, I didn't have time to get to Planet Fitness once in the past 3 weeks. You're telling me about self-care? They're going to jump across the room, and like, because their definition of it are those things. Take an hour and go get a massage, go to the spa, go. Like, I don't know about you, but and it's definitely not a daily thing. So when you start talking about it, like, the basic things, like waking up and doing a body scan meditation, slowly drinking your tea in the morning or hot water and lemon, focusing on your breathing, getting into, the bathroom, and before you jump into that shower, self-massage, which is just a practice through, Ayurveda that's thousands of years old, just to soothe the nervous system. Kind of hard to even say nasty things about yourself in your head when you're doing something nice for yourself, getting in there and, or using like an essential oil in the shower just to take 5 minutes to breathe, or having a yoga practice. You don't have to go to a studio. You never have to step foot in a yoga studio if you don't want to, if it doesn't fit in to what life is for you. There are so many ways of integrating it as a home practice, and there's no rules around it. It's you and your mat, or your blanket. And I think that these are the types of things that we're talking about, creating a little morning routine, creating something you do before bed that ends up creating like a container of support for yourself. This helps me get through life because I don't know what's going on in here. I don't know what the day is going to bring me. I don't know what kind of things are going to get thrown at me, but I do know how I'm starting my day, and I know how I'm ending my day, and that's going to support me. And so those things are very individualized based on who I am, what I need, how I feel, and what I feel. And it's going to change daily. And so when we start looking at resolutions and all of that is self-care. This is me learning how to look inward, turn inward, so that I could be optimal in all my relationships and roles. Well, there you go. It could be practical. It doesn't have to cost you money. It doesn't have to take you out of your environment and create more stress for you. Once we shift the definition around, right? So, easing up and doing it compassionately, like it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's all right. I mean, half the time, you're sitting there thinking, like, if I was talking to somebody the way that I'm talking to myself right now, I'd have no friends.
Yes.
I have no friends.
That's true. Yeah.
Nobody would want to be around me because it's nasty. It just is.
Yeah. We're our toughest critic. And I love what you're saying about even just like drink your tea more slowly, like things like that. Because I think a lot of times we think, I don't know, this is something I was saying to a lot of people, that we've become this swipe right, swipe left mentality. Like we need this or that. There's no in the middle. And if you can't do everything, then you can't do, I used to teach at King's College, and I would tell my students, sometimes I'd ask them, do you think we can make a difference with this? No. And I'd say, well, why not? And I'd say, we don't have to do everything. You don't have to change like everyone's mind, but if you do one person, you make a difference. That's important. So you, instead of saying, like you had said, oh, well, I don't have an hour for a massage, but if you have 2 minutes, if you have 5 minutes where you're breathing deeply, or while you're on your way to work, can you listen to something that's soothing, or a podcast that you like, or just soft music? We tend to think we have to do it all, or it's this or that, but we don't.
Right. There's this gray area, and it like I said, it could change. Massage is wonderful. It just really grounds us. It helps soothe our nervous system, especially if we're anxious, especially getting before you even get out of bed, rubbing your own feet, like rubbing your legs, like stretching, sitting up, taking deep breaths before your feet hit the ground, and your mind immediately goes to, oh my God, what is going to happen today? Or, like some people say, I just kind of count the hours. I look at the clock and say, oh, 8 hours, I'll be back home. I can get my pajamas back on. Like we're already, thinking about like, how do I just survive today? So this kind of takes us from this survival mode. And maybe with practice, I can start feeling like I'm thriving, not just surviving every day.
Yeah.
And that's really what, the goal is. The outcome I'm looking for is, am I leading a meaningful life according to me, my term, like what's meaningful for me? Am I more aware? And that's the mindfulness piece. That's getting out of my head and feeling not only my emotions, but sensation wise, what's going on with my body? What is happening here? What needs to be addressed, right? Before something happens that lands me in the primary care doctor's office going, I don't know I don't know how this happened here. So that is definitely what we're working at. And then inevitably, like you start seeing things shift and balance back into place again, So yeah, I really kind of look at it as, a combination of mindfulness, self-compassion, setting intentions, and developing interoceptive skills. Being able to look within and saying, what do I feel? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to identify an intervention or whatever the thing I'm working at, right? Is going to make sense for me to keep me getting up every day and doing it. If I don't know why I'm getting up to run, I'm not doing it again.
Right.
It's unpleasant. The next day I'm going to be like, what am I doing? I'm not doing this. It's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say too, I mean, I know that obviously the research, but we don't even need research to know that, just talk to friends, that with the pandemic, our stress and anxiety has already been increased. So it's like, then you add on the pressure of the holidays and the pressure of this. And it's like, for some, that could actually be too much. Like that really could put people at the breaking point. What do you recommend for people who are just like, because there are people out there who are just really stressed to the max, where they might even need more. I guess what would you say to those folks who are just really like overwrought with so many things going on?
I think that we've entered into a place that I didn't think we would be, with our psychological, care and treatment. We have telehealth now, scheduling a time where somebody's going to hold space for you and allow you that full digestion of like everything I've been carrying around with me, everything I've been feeling, everything that I've been thinking. I want to process it and digest it because, we tend to like hold it in, stuff it down so I can get through my day. But the issue here is I'm not just stuffing, I'm creating a huge problem on my body. So that process, I'm having an experience here. I have a feeling about it. And the first thing we think of is like, just let it go because I'm never going to get through my day today if I have to deal with this. I'm going to break down. That accumulation of that over time wears away on us physically, not just emotionally, but physically. We get sick. So even having, the telehealth session with a therapist that is simply holding space for you to have a full digestion process, you're going to be able to breathe a whole lot better. You may be able to see your situation with a lot more clarity, You might be able to discern better. You may feel really like, okay, you know what? I had these answers all along. I just needed to, kind of get the junk I've been carrying around with me out there.
Yeah.
And let go. It doesn't serve me a purpose anymore. Let me let go of that and realign myself. So, I definitely think that, therapy is not it's changed. It's, the pandemic has changed everything. So people really don't have to go too far out of their way to get to an office somewhere or worry about like, am I going to have time to do it? They're scheduling like we are right now, and it works and it's helpful. And so I would really start there. I mean, if you're really noticing like physically I'm depleted, emotionally I'm depleted, spiritually I'm like really, I feel empty, then just consider like, can I schedule in my lunch break while I'm eating my, my whatever I made for lunch today? I could be talking to somebody and, kind of getting some ideas or at least getting things off my chest that I can't safely let out in other areas of my life without there being consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
The truth. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
That might be a really good place to start. But for some people who don't want to do the therapy first, I think looking at practices through Ayurveda. There's things online that talk about something called a dinacharya, which is a daily routine. It's Ayurvedic practices that are very accessible, very practical, that you could start doing at home. I always say, think about something that you can create a routine that's focused on you in the morning and have a routine at night. Keep them consistent because the brain, the body, everybody loves a little bit of consistency, right?
Yeah.
You can work with Ayurveda. Online yoga practices. Kristen Neff has these beautiful self-compassion meditations and practices that, you can get right online, turn them on anytime, in the morning while you're emptying your dishwasher and you want to throw your AirPods on and just listen to something. However you're going to start your day off is pretty much the direction how things are going to go. So if you're like hanging over your dishwasher, emptying it, thinking about all the horrors of the day and what's going to annoy you, what are the possible? I'm getting pre-annoyed.
You're getting ready to get annoyed.
I'm already getting pre-annoyed, as I'm emptying the dishwasher, because I'm thinking about all the things that are going to bother me for the rest of the day. It's probably not a really good way to start, but it's just habit. No. You do it for so long, it's hard to make the change. But with consistency and practice, we create another, neural pathway. We create another direction that our brain, goes. We have these feelings. I catch it. I do something different. It becomes a habit. I don't really have to think too hard about it. I don't have to go, no, like, what am I supposed to be doing this morning? I don't think about that when I brush my teeth, brush my hair, pour my coffee. I just do it in order. I don't have to think about it. So when we practice, I stress the word practice, creating this new, behavior, it becomes, I don't have to think about it anymore. I get no decision. I don't have to make a decision. I don't get fatigue from it. I don't have to stress myself out. It's not new anymore, right? And it just becomes part of my lifestyle. And so, shifting gears a little bit so that we're in that, place versus it's January 1st, get to Planet Fitness, 5 a.m., my alarm's going off. It may not be as useful as considering some of these other options.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course there's no one size fits all. And, that's the problem with, and I hate to blame social media and media in general, because I like to say we still have freedom of choice and free will, so we can just turn the TV off, put the phone down so that we don't have to see what our neighbors just started a new program. Now I better do it. We can always turn that off, but unfortunately sometimes we don't, we get sucked in. But I mean, it is up to us to put away anything that's negative or toxic. Right. So.
And really, there isn't a person out there that is going to be able to tell you what you feel and what you need and how you need to do it. That is already knowledge you have internally. We're just not used to using that mechanism, that tool. We're just not used to it. We wait for somebody to tell us what to do. social media is like, is the same thing as when you go to the doctor's office. They're going to tell me what to do. Well, it's great, whatever I'm seeing online, whatever I'm reading, even whatever my doctor's going to tell me about my weight loss. Here it is. They're not, they're not they're not the pilot in the airplane with me. I'm the pilot in here. They're just going to give me some ideas and then they're going to be off doing their thing. I have to be on the plane. And that is, where it becomes my responsibility I know what I need. I know how to do this. And that's really what we have to remember is you have all that information internally to you. Your doctor may say to you, you're overweight and it's causing you to have this issue, but are they really going to be, know what is going to stick with me in terms of a lifestyle change? Probably not. I know that. I know what I'm going to be able to do every day, how I'm going to feel about it before, during, and after. That's on me. So, I kind of feel that once we start realizing this is knowledge that we have internally, we rely less on things like other people and social media to tell us how to do it.
Yeah.
So 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to be pleasant. And it's going to just set us up for being disappointed in ourselves because we're going to, the way we look at that is not that this wasn't a fit for me. We look at it as I'm not good enough to be able to do this correctly. Like there's something wrong with me. And, why I couldn't get it, but, the girl at the gym did and my coworker did. And I just couldn't do it. Like, what is the matter with me?
Yeah.
So these practices are really important in so many ways,
Yeah. And I love what you just said too, though. It's like, and we have to, I love that idea of being the pilot, because that is so true. I mean, even though people's intentions and doctors, of course, it's their job to help us out and give us these, ideas or tell us what we could do. But you're right. We're the ones who have to do it. And we're pretty much, they're not going to be holding our hand or doing it with us. So that's why it is so important to know what we can do and what we're willing to do. I love that idea of being the pilot. That's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up here, we're getting to the end of our time here. Is there anything else that you would just want to close with? I think I love everything that you've said, and I think this is going to be very helpful to people as they approach, because, this is going to air January 6th. So people are probably in that mindset of feeling they need to do something. Anything else that you would want to just offer as far as a tip, advice, or just some closing words or thoughts?
Maybe the first thing to do is sit down and journal all of the ideas that you have about what you think you should be doing. And then really look at it and answer, is this for me or is this for someone else? And really spin off those little journal assignments in terms of practicing this, the art of identifying what I feel. Because you're going to see it's not that easy. It's not that easy when your head is full and you spend all that time thinking and having, just responding to your thoughts. Start there, because I really do feel like that opens the door that you step right through, that gets you on your path. So think about what it is that you've already had on your agenda. Ask yourself, is there another person out there that is kind of driving my motivation to do this? Or is this really coming authentically from me internally? And really start listing, what do I feel? What am I sensing? Because from that, you're going to build, your practice and go from there.
Great. Well, and I'm also going to put, for anyone who is listening, I'll also put in the description of the podcast some information. You mentioned is it Ayurveda? I'm not going to pronounce it right. Ayurveda. So like there is some
science to yoga. It's,
okay.
It's just they have wonderful practices, a lot of daily practices that you can integrate, lots of information online.
Is there one site in particular that you would recommend? Or, because I know people can search YouTube and probably find so much out there.
You can definitely find a lot of things out there. I particularly like a lot of the work that comes, out of the Himalayan Institute. They do a lot around the practice of Ayurveda and yoga, and making it very practical for, 2022 and modern day, taking a lot of this and making it applicable for today. And, get on YouTube, save some morning practices, evening practices, gentle practices, more vigorous practices, because remember, you're going to feel different every day.
Right.
That way you
Right.
can just jump right in there, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What do I need? And it's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, I'm going to include some of those links. I know the Himalayan Institute is actually local here in Pennsylvania, and it's a wonderful place. Their website, they offer all sorts of like workshops and things like that, which,
Yoga International, like
yeah, it's a
lot of
wonderful
resorts
place. Yeah.
locally.
Yeah. And even to take a walk, I was there this summer just to walk around. The grounds are beautiful. And then there's a mocha chocolate that's made in the back, which is great, right?
It
Chocolate
sure
is pretty
is.
good. It's very good. So it's nice just to kind of, I think walks are also can be very meditative too. So that's a really nice thing to do. Well, I want to thank you so much. My guest today has been Gina oh my God, Constantini, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes anymore, I don't know if it's since I turned 50 or whatever, like I'll have a thought, I'll have information, and then I feel like I totally don't know it. So I was like,
I don't
oh
know
my
it
gosh, I
anymore.
totally forgot her name. I forgot who she is. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Again, I keep saying us. It's really just me here joining me and my guests who are listening. And I think what you've offered is wonderful. And I really hope people will take it to heart and hopefully, do something good for yourselves out there because you're worth it and, remove some of that pressure. So you've been listening to Janine Luby, aka Funny Wine Girl, and this has been Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. I hope you'll tune in next week. My guest will be Christine Souza, and she will be talking about the wellness benefits of essential oils and a few other practices that she recommends. So thank you again so much for listening.